All right. Thank you all for coming out. Call the meeting to order. If we can please call the roll.
Certainly, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton?
Present.
Councilmember Hartman?
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Here.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If you please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
You got that? Got it. It's all right. Thanks. Good. It's
All right, we have a proclamation this evening.
No, the mayor, Doug.
Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas Florida's bright future depends on the healthy development of its children, and whereas adverse childhood experiences, including the abuse and neglect of children, can cause severe and costly consequences for children, families, and society as a whole. And whereas the child has a right to a safe, healthy, and happy childhood where they are educationally and developmentally on track. Whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have support systems and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. Whereas it is vital that individuals, businesses, schools, community organizations make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, and emotional and educational development and competency of all children. Whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Florida Department of Children and Families and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, implements Pinwheels for Prevention. Whereas Pinwheels for Prevention is a statewide coordinated campaign aimed to increase awareness of child abuse prevention efforts by encouraging healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and community support. Whereas the blue and silver pinwheel displays in this campaign symbolize the health and happiness of all children that they deserve. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month is an important opportunity to urge all Floridians to engage in activities that strengthen families and communities and that provide the optimal environment for healthy child development. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and forwarding it to us. It's awesome to be able to participate in that. Thank you. Did you want to say a few words, or? Yeah. Please.
Thank you to Mayor Bright Cruz, to the council, to the Town of Southwest Ranches for recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. You know, at the Children's Services Council, our mission is to ensure that every child can reach their full potential, but that's not possible unless we are in safe and nurturing communities. And so towns like yourself, denouncing child abuse and building a culture where we do everything we can to prevent that really helps move the needle in that direction. So thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, let's move into public comment.
Mayor, we have 5 speaker cards tonight. Does anyone else wish to speak? If so, we need your cards at this time. Thank you. We got 6. Thank you. At that point, public session is closed. We're starting with Gay Chapels, followed by Doug McKay, followed by Lori Parrish.
Gay, before you start, I just want to, we obviously, as was demonstrated earlier this evening, and as has been demonstrated over the last several meetings during public comment, nothing specifically, obviously, for you, Gay, but we've had some presentations that were not acceptable, and so for moving forward, I'm going to be very strict about the time limit. If anything comes out that is disrespectful or hateful, I will stop it at that point, and we will have public comment in a positive and respectful way. So, thank you, Gay, and I apologize for jumping in front of you.
I have a complete blank now that you did
Oh.
that. Okay. You have to consider my age, right? Okay, we discussed this
Right,
before.
45, I got it.
I want to thank you first for meeting me this afternoon with Doug at the Equestrian Park. I had talked to Russell about an issue about the railroad ties and the danger of the our rebarb that's holding it down. So they did remove the rebarb, but as you can see, they are doing it, pardon the expression, half-ass. And we're not talking about mega dollars. I think that you can do a complete job, brand new, of railroad ties in there, which, by the way, are 20 years old. Half of them are rotted. They put in 6 new ones, and they're not lined up. And it's not the way you do anything. To me, it's ridiculous. You're looking at 100, I counted them, there's 110. That's at $30 a piece and not bundled. If you buy them in bundles, they're cheaper. That's only $3,000. $400 for a dumpster, which would not even be half full with the rebarb and the ties. It would take about maybe a half a day or less to take them all up and put them in the dumpster. You grade it, you take a string, you pull it straight, you lay down the ties. We're not talking about a major expense here. If the cost is around $4,000, at best you'll max out at 10, and I would say a lot less than that. And I think that you have that in your funding, that you can allow the town administrator to just go ahead and do this correctly the first time, and it'll last another 20 years possibly, and you won't have to deal with it. If you keep doing it piecemeal and put 6 in and 6 more and so on and so forth, not only is it going to look like this, but it's also going to be always looking trashy. So I'm putting it in your ballpark to please start looking at these parks, and let's bring them up to a standard that, meets the residents of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Gay.
Thank you, Doug. Then Lori Parrish.
Hi, Doug McKay, 4851 Southwest 130th Ave. Mayor, thanks again for meeting us out there. Greatly appreciate it. I'm not going to rehash everything Gay just said, but you met us out there, saw the condition and the circumstances, but they haven't thrown any of the rotten ones away. They haven't picked them up. They've just kind of moved them out of the way and put some other dilapidated ones in my opinion. But I think if you ordered them from wherever and you get them all at the same time, I think it'll look nice. You'll have a nice clean finish. The park will look refreshed. And there's a couple of other issues along the way with fencing and stuff, but we can get there pretty quick. But anyway, I just want to say that we need to work on our parks a little bit more. And I don't know the last time you guys did a volunteer project, but I'm sure if you reached out or let people know or reach out to the people in this town that have equipment or have workers, we can get things done at a lot cheaper. So we saved a lot of money in the past getting things done that way. I don't know where you guys stand on doing volunteer stuff, but I stepped back in to run for District 4, so I signed up, and let's see how things go. But if I get back in, I'm going to be pushing for volunteer projects, as you guys well know. So thanks very much.
Lori Parrish, followed by John Garrotti, followed by Jim Lasky.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lori Parrish. I reside at 12801 Luray Road. I came tonight to ask, in light of the recent hurt feelings at several meetings, that you install a new decorum policy. But instead of that, I want to say thank you. A lot of people had their feelings hurt, and I'm glad to see that all of you and the mayor understand that. And the other thing I'd like to talk about is in our advisory board policy handbook, it asks advisory board members not to politic at meeting, not to wear campaign attire. And so I would respectfully request that that same decorum apply to this side of the dais and your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
John Garotti, Jim Lasky, and last speaker is Mary Ann Allen.
Got to do it. Good evening. John Garotti, 5901 Southwest 162nd Avenue. It's good to see you guys. We had a real good time at the Youth Association 5K. I'm still sore from it. I was running with the council. I beat you guys, though. I had a pretty good time. I've never ran a 5K in my life, but that was community building. Let me tell you, that was first time I ever went. I've never done that before, but it was awesome. I met many, many residents. I, too, am running for first time ever, District 3 town council position, and it was a lot of fun. It was very, very entertaining, very, very good reason to live in this town, but we have a lot of events like that, and I think it's the way we express our community. So what else did I want to mention? I got a question when you guys get a chance to answer me. It says 3 minutes on here, and you guys always limit it to 2 and then extend a minute. I don't want to go over, but it does say all speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Another thing I want to talk about is the way we communicate with the town. It's going to be my motto. Communication is key. Let's keep that up with neighbors. I've been to a couple of advisory boards lately. Never done that before. That's very interesting. That's how you get feedback from people that are way more involved in the town. I was at the, if I'm not mistaken, the Parks Advisory Board, the one that December's on the other day. I have 2 brand new railroad ties. I'd be more than glad to donate them because they're just sitting there and they're going to rot. And they're long and they were expensive and I didn't use them for a project. So if Mr. McKay's talking about a volunteer project, I volunteer all the time for whatever I can. I'll be more than glad to donate those and anything else. And like a lot of guys, they have equipment and whatever we can add to benefit the town from Flamingo all the way out to US 27. December does a great job on the parks, but whatever we can do as residents, volunteers, I'm game. But that's all I got for tonight. And if at one point somebody can answer me about the 3 minutes, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And again, Mary Ann, you're last. After Jim.
Hey there. As you know, I'm connected with the Broward Incinerator Task Force, and I'm here tonight to ask you for a little help. You know, you're getting a lot of good information from us, and you're seeing a great effort from us, but one thing we need to get is a little money for expenses for travel. Richard's going out to San Francisco to meet with some of the people that are going to be assisting us in the future. And it would be nice for you all to be able to come up with, let's say, $5,000 for his expense money. If there's any problem with paperwork, I've got all the licenses necessary. I've been in business for 44 years. So I have ID numbers, tax numbers, all that sort of stuff. And I'll just handle it as an expense or a donation or bury it in the general ledger. But anyway, I would like your indulgence to consider that. I don't think it's beyond your means by any means. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, Mary Ann Allen, y'all know me, Mustang Trail Sunshine Ranches. You know, I've been here for 30 years and plus, and this town includes everyone. I'm so proud of this town. We've had Black council members, we've had people of all denominations are welcome to this town. The only thing we ask is that you respect us,
Absolutely.
that you don't come here and call us racist, because that's the least of what we are, and insult us, as we have been hearing for the last 4 meetings. I'm very proud of the council for stepping up and taking charge. Thank you. This protects all of us from hate speech. It protects our neighbors and friends from hate speech, and a lot of it has been directed towards our beloved Jewish residents. They are a force in our community. They're wonderful people. Everybody abhors war. We all do. We all bleed in our hearts for the children that suffer, but that's war. And Israel did not start this war. But they will finish it so that their people can live in peace and safety. I commend the town for your resolution to support Israel. It was a unanimous decision under the First Amendment rights. We have a right also to our opinions. And I thank you for supporting Israel and standing by them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. All right. So a couple of comments from that, just to finish up. So the time element, I think it's 3 minutes?
It's 3 minutes for public comment, 2 minutes on
On an
agenda
item. Right. So there you have it. Okay. So that's why there's a little bit of a difference there, the 3 and 2 minutes.
And you're very generous there.
Okay. Board reports.
You get 5 minutes.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Gary, for the reminder. And actually, board reports do have 5 minutes. So,
I won't take 5. So just on behalf of the Education Advisory Board, I just wanted to report back, as John Garotti was saying, that it was an amazing event, the 5K, the Florida Sikh Youth Council. They did an amazing job
did.
again, and they raised $13,000 for the scholarship fund. So it was awesome job by them.
awesome. Very good.
And then just in regards to the Zero Waste Broward Task Force, I was just going to let everyone know we've created some door hangers. So on the front side of it, it has all the why incinerators are bad. And then the other side is, you know, ways that we can divert our trash from all going into landfills and incineration.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great flyer.
And the other thing I just want to let everyone know, as somebody who has sat through every one of these executive committee meetings of the Broward Solid Waste Authority, the contribution that the mayor has had in every one of the discussions. He is part of every discussion. I know there was some concern that he was an alternate, but he's part of every discussion. Sometimes he steers the discussion. In this last meeting where they did live interviews of the top 4 candidates for the executive director, our mayor was instrumental in throughout the entire interview process of each of the candidates. They each had a couple questions to ask. They had some follow-ups, and then in the end, when they were voting, they went from their top 4 to 2, and then they voted, and the mayor had his vote as well. So I just want to make sure everyone, that they really know the impact that you're having on that board. And I want to thank you.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Seeing none, board reports are closed. Council member comments. Who'd like to go?
I'll go first,
Great, thanks, Gary.
and it's going to be really quick.
All right.
Just thank you for everybody coming. Just want to make a few announcements. We have the Mayor's Chess Challenge coming up on the 30th from 10 to 2. I'm sure you'll talk more about that
Yeah, I
when we
will.
get to your side. I'm
Thanks.
just doing an FYI right now. We have the Easter egg hunt coming on the 23rd at the barn. The bunny's going to be there for photo opportunities from our famous town photographer, Bob.
All right.
And that starts at 11. We have a hazmat at the barn on the 27th. I'm going to keep saying that until the next one comes around, from 8 to 2. Includes shredding, prescription drug drop-off, and it's a great way to really help out with the zero waste concept by bringing in stuff that oil, tires, pesticides, non-institutional stuff that you would buy retail, but it's hazardous stuff. So you need to, that would be the great way to dispose of it. And then also we have coming up, as part of the zero waste, we have these, obviously you can't see this, but there's stickers that are going to be distributed and put on the recycling cans to tell you what can go in the can and what cannot go in the can. And that's coming up soon as part of the zero waste initiative that we're implementing here throughout the town. So we're going to be leading that charge, and this is just in addition to the door hangers that Ms. Green just talked about. These will be coming very soon, and they're probably going to be put on by students on certain trash pickup days. So sort of like the flocking, the kids are not trying to steal your trash can. They're trying to put the sticker on. So if everybody could just remember that. I don't know when this is going to happen, but if the date gets closer to a meeting, I'll announce it when we start the program, for that. And that's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you, Gary. Who'd like to go next? Thank you.
All right, good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out tonight. I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Saturday was Water Matters Day, and I think I've been going to Water Matters now for 15 years. And the first year or two, it was very small. It was the water districts, it was the county, and it was December Laurentano Haynes from our town here. Over the years, it's really gotten to be a big event. One of the big draws is if you walk around with a little postcard and get it stamped so many times, I think you get 2 free plants, and generally they're native plants. So I think I probably have 20 or 30 in my yard that all came from Water Matters. But the town's been participating basically since it started. December and Christine Brownlow are very, very involved in it. Every year they do a better and better job with a display booth where they basically show the residents of the county that show up what you can grow in your backyard. And they point to pollinators, they point to ground covers, they talk about different mulches. They really do a great job educating the folks that show up. I sat there for about an hour, and they were fielding probably 20 or 30 questions apiece during that time frame. They're really out there, their heart is in it, and they do a great job representing the town. And it's amazing how many people you hear walk through just saying, this is such a good idea. I had no idea. I don't know about plants. I'm new to the area. I just, I bought a yard and it's all grass. What's the best thing to do? What can I do for the animals, et cetera? And the town's right at the forefront of it. There's a lot of different displays out there, but nobody does anything like we do. And really hats off to December for carrying the torch on this for so many years. Additionally, I didn't run in the 5K this year. I cheered on the sidelines. It's not old age that's getting me. It's back injuries and this kind of an injury and that kind of an injury. But just some fun facts. There were 400 people that signed up this year. That's the most so far. We heard about a $13,000 donation. That's from the proceeds between the entrance fees and as well we've gone from having 2 or 3 booths there of supporters or sponsors. I think there were probably 12 or 13 this time. So whatever they collect from those folks to be out there advertising, whatever they're advertising, also goes towards the scholarship. There were over 100 volunteers as well. And, that's split between the Sikh Society and as well, there's lots of people that you see that show up at all of our events to help out. We're there. So this is really a centerpiece event for our town. Every year it's gotten to be more and more fun. I want to thank the Sikh Association for working hard on this. This isn't something you throw together over the course of two weekends and all of a sudden there's a 5K. They work on this all year with students from our community and as well amongst the Sikh Association. I also wanted to thank Big Louie. Louie was out there again as our MC. He takes center stage and he runs the show. He does a great job every year. So if you're watching, Louie, thank you. A couple of other things to talk about. Jim, Gary, and I went up to the Palm Beach County Solid Waste Authority facility up off the Turnpike up in northern Palm Beach County. We had met the I guess, general manager for Covantis. Covantis is the company that operates the solid waste facility. Now, basically, there's 2 giant incinerators there. There is a very large dump, and there's a lot of trucks moving through there. They process about 5,000 tons a day. It's all Palm Beach County solid waste. You cannot pick up garbage if you're like WM and go dump it somewhere else. It's got to go to their facility. The takeaway I had from it were the people that run it are very professional. They are extremely efficient. They follow the law. Now, the laws that facility was built on most recently was 2015, so the laws were really 2010 laws. Did they comply with best practices? There was an article in the paper last week that the EPA is upping the standards on those types of facilities, and the executive director was quoted in that article of having real concerns about meeting those new requirements. Like I said, they do a good job, but the downside of the facility is that it produces thousands of tons of sulfur dioxide, I'm saying hydrochloric acid, but that's not the right word. But essentially, hydrochloric acid is a gas going up. They do the best they can by the law to extract those things, but they can't take it out. They were very fond of saying, we keep everything on the property. In other words, the fly ash that would have gone out through the stack, and as well what they call the bottom ash that comes from the combustion process, but it's dumped on their property. And they were honest with us in all the questions that we asked. They said that the liners underneath the dump sooner or later will crack and break. Where does that go? It goes into the water supply for Palm Beach County. Now, when I was hearing all of these things, all I could think of was, what about if they did it right out here? Okay. You'll hear Richard Ramcharitan talking about how he lived within pretty close proximity to the Wheelabrator plant on 441 just south of 595. He said he ended up with COPD and other issues from living in close proximity because of the things that come out of the pipe. Now, when they said it, they keep everything, they restrain everything on the property. I said, what about all the gases going up through the smokestack? They didn't want to really talk about the fact that those gases, from what I've read, go all the way to the Mississippi Valley. I mean, they wanted to say, well, it's dispersed amongst the air. Yeah, all of our breathing air, it's dispersed amongst. Again, they were very polite. They answered every question that we asked, but at the end of the day, I was not persuaded that incinerators are the right idea for us. We need to continue fighting them. All right. Thank you for hearing me out on that. Yeah, 5,000 tons of garbage a day, it's mind-bending. Last thing I wanted to bring up, there was a resident who contacted me just today about Roundup. Does anybody still use Roundup that's here? So you've heard about the lawsuits against Roundup for the farm workers that are getting lymphoma. There's all kinds of class action lawsuits against Monsanto. There's also something that's not being talked about unless you've suffered or experienced the losses of your pets. I used Roundup for years. I mean, it was my go-to because in a week, whatever I sprayed it on practically was dead. And that's why I was there. I didn't want to go over things 2 or 3 times. This neighbor lives right across from Debbie, as a matter of fact, right over in Country Estates. She had a list of all the people that have lost their dogs to Roundup, and it's almost always cancer. Now, when our dog, 2 dogs ago, she died from liver failure, we had her tested and we tried to understand what it was, and it was 2 things, according to the lab results. One was glyphosate, which is the generic name for Roundup, and the other was, and we didn't know this, she loved nuts. We'd throw her cashews, we'd throw her almonds, whatever. If she saw us eating nuts, well, that's also very toxic for dogs. So the combination of the 2 took her out at 10 years old. Now, the dog we got to replace her 6 months after that died at 8 years old. She died of lymphoma. We didn't spray anything else around our yard other than Roundup. I've switched. I was talking to Keith a little bit earlier. We've switched to using, and go out to the internet, it's all over the place. We use a solution that's made out of salt that's dissolved in industrial strength vinegar, which you can buy at Home Depot, and you add soap to it. The soap works like what's called a surfactant. Commercial spraying, they all add something like soap to it so it spreads and it sticks to the plants. I've been using that now for about 2 years, and it works really well. So I'm just suggesting that, if you use Roundup, there is a much safer alternative. There's also other chemicals that, actually Gary turned me on to a chemical called trichlorophyr. Am I saying it right? It's a much less toxic. If you read the label on it, you go out and do some research on it, if you spray it in your eyes, it doesn't even burn. I mean, it's something that you can inhale without damage. So, That's what it works well on trees. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is there's a whole group of people out in country estates right now that are losing their pets. And when we talked to the vets last time, we put our dog through chemo. We went up to a veterinarian up on 84. She says Southwest Ranches is full of people with the same problems. I got friendly with a veterinarian that lives over here in Sunshine Ranches because he treats chickens. And he was telling me that, it's the worst kept secret in town is that because of all the chemicals we put on our lawns. And it's not just, like me out there with Roundup. A lot of people use True Green and all the different spraying companies that'll come out and take care of your bugs. They'll spray your lawn. When your dog goes on there a couple days later, long after it's dried, they're going to pick it up on their feet. And everybody knows dogs lick their feet compulsively, practically. So, they'll be out here. They'd like us to look into banning it in our town. And I sent a note to Keith and to Julio to see if this is even possible and if there's a will to do it. So we'll probably be talking about that at the next council meeting. If you have any thoughts on it, please come up when we talk about it. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Good information.
Thank you.
Yeah,
David Kaczynski, District 4, and Vice Mayor. Following up in Bob's comment, my law firm represented people that were that actually had passed away from cancer from Agent Orange. And one of the things I learned is that Agent Orange was actually, or Agent Orange from Vietnam. Once the Vietnam War ended, Monsanto was stuck with all of this. And Monsanto just diluted it and marketed it as Roundup. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. Anyway, some of you folks were trying to get me last week. I was out of the country all last week, and that's another reason why I could not make it to the Palm Beach incinerator tour. And I, too, read that article regarding the EPA elevating their incinerator regulations, and I felt encouraged by that, and maybe we can stop what's going on over there. And the one thing that I would like to see if there's some way we can help out Richard with his travel expenses. I don't know if that's something that we can do from the council perspective, but I would like to see explore something like that, help him with part of his travel expenses if he's going to be representing the anti-incinerator committee that we have here. Let's see. Thursday, March 21st, World Down Syndrome Day. Town of Southwest Ranches would like you to stop by Town Hall, show your support for this event by showing us your wacky socks. And if you'd like to donate to this cause, town staff will be accepting donations on behalf of the Broward Gold Coast Down Syndrome Organization. One of my residents in Sunshine Ranches, they have a daughter with Down syndrome, and little Anna is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful child. She comes out to a lot of events, and she's very, very outgoing. Wonderful, wonderful family. On March 1st, I learned that there was another mail theft in Sunshine Ranches on Holity Trail, less than a tenth of a mile from where I live, just north of me. And then I later learned that on March 7th, an individual was stopped at the Shell station right up here at Volunteer. And there was, the way I understood it, 100 different residences of mail was in the U-Haul truck. And the person was arrested and is in custody now. I really want to thank Davie Police. Great efforts. There's been some other issues in the news. I kind of keep that down a little bit, but I want to thank you guys for all of your hard work. You've been doing a great job. Speaking of Davie Police, my monthly traffic report. District 1, there was 11 citations written. 4 of those were speeding, 80 hours, 29 minutes from Davie Police in District 1. District 2, 59 hours, 29 minutes, 36 total citations, 28 of those were speeding. District 3, 59 hours, 10 minutes, about the same amount of time, 54 citations written, 40 of those were speeding. District 4, always at the top. 19 hours, smallest amount of time for any district. 19 hours, 34 minutes, 109 citations issued. Of those, 73 were speeding. That's more than all the districts combined. I want to applaud Davie Police for your hard work, doing a great, great job. And I'm going to wrap it up by asking if we can do the work on the equestrian park. That's a really important issue. I would like to get those railroad ties, get that issue resolved. And that does it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Jim?
Thank you, Steve. Bob and David, every 5 years I have to be tested at the VA for Agent Orange. Those that were stationed in the north end of Vietnam, all of a sudden it can pop up out of nowhere. It scares me a little bit that it can. No symptoms whatsoever, but all of a sudden it shows up. So every 5 years I go get my test, and knock on wood, I haven't been tested yet for positive. So, you know, just keep that in mind for me, and I think I'll be all right. I retired in 2012, got involved with the town a lot more than I was previous to that. Sat on a lot of boards, attended a number of the homeowner association meetings, got really involved with the Rolling Oaks Association, and was elected in 2022. And, I'm sorry, 2020. And it has been a great experience for me. This past 3 weeks here between council meetings, let me tell you a little bit of things that are going on that I get involved with. I want to thank Bob for the Vince Valletta Canal dedication. That was a great, great thing. Thank you. Russell, thank you. And Bob, thank you for the Davie Fire Chief ceremony. That was great to be a part of that and represent the town for that. The Safety and Traffic Board that I campaigned for is going strong. We've had our second meeting. I think we've got a real good board. The 5 board members there are really smart. Some are ex-law enforcement, and we're coming up with some real great ideas on how to control the traffic and how to make the town a lot safer. Using the cameras that we currently have, I don't know if most of you realize that we have somewhere around 25 to 28 tag readers around town, placed all over. So if something were to happen, cars come in, we can find, you know, or at least look and see where they went. So that's good. The Broward League of Cities, I sit on the board of directors. Their main objective right now is to try to stop the school closing that might take place in Broward County. That'll affect a lot of communities. I didn't realize the schools were closed, and I didn't realize the schools were in that bad a shape, but they are. There's a lot of them that they're looking at closing, and that's going to hurt quite a bit. I was part of that group you heard that went up to see the incinerator, and I will tell you, they have all the latest technology. They have all the bells and whistles and all the gadgets you can imagine, the screens lit up all over, but what comes out the end of that stack, like Bob asked, is the stuff he was telling you about. There's no way that when you burn that it'll be safe for the community. And that's their main job up there. Everything in that county goes to that incinerator. That's how they have to feed that monster. And we had the opportunity to look inside. What a fire. I mean, it was one heck of a fire going on. So, you know, it was something. Our new Zero Waste Board met, elected officers, and congratulations to the officers. I think they're going to do real good for the town. You heard Gary mention the sticker that's going on top of the can. It gives you the 5 or 6 things that you can put and then ask you not to put these other 5 or 6 things in the can. I think that'll be a great help. It's a visual sticker that stays on. It's made out of plastic somehow. I think it'll be a great incentive for the town. All right? The 5K, I want to mention real quickly the 5K. It was a great event. A lot of people were recognized, and just me personally, I think there was one more person that probably should have been recognized a little bit, and that was Kathy Sullivan. Kathy is the chair of the Education Board. She's been there for I don't know how many years. I asked her the other day, she couldn't count how many. But she's the spearhead behind this. She's got the people like Debbie and the rest of the council that help her, but she's the spearhead. She does tireless amount of time into that board. That's her baby. That's her pride and joy. And if they don't have money for the students, She is really hurt by that. So, it was good. I'll be attending the canal, C-51 Reservoir Phase 1 completion in Loxahatchee tomorrow morning. It's at 9 o'clock. Bob and I were up there a couple months ago. What a facility. They have holes in the ground that's big enough to swallow a city just about, and they're going to put the water in there. They can pump that water to crops, they can pump it to municipalities, or they can pump it back into the aquifer so that the groundwater keeps the salt water out. I was just absolutely amazed. So I'll be up there representing town for that. And I also am running for election, so I promise you, if you put me back in office, I'll continue to do the work that I've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, just a few things I wanted to mention. I did want to just say that I appreciate all of the, with the zero waste, those flyers that have made up. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Maggie, for the work on that. Really, it's the first big step to really getting that moving forward, and so it's awesome to see and appreciate everybody's work on that. I did want to say that I also appreciate bringing up about the Equestrian Park and those railroad ties and things. And I do think that as a council we should, it does not sound like a major expense, and we should need to address that and see if we can get that taken care of. I know December would love to get that done as well if the funding is there, and I think the funding can be there. So. Let's see, Water Matters. This was the first year in, I don't know how long, probably about 10 years that I haven't been able to be there. I had a number of other commitments on that day, but it's an awesome day. I heard that December did an amazing job, as she always does, and it was good to hear that all that went well. I appreciate everybody that was able to go out there. I wanted to bring up a topic. As a council, this is really the only time we get to really talk about these types of issues. And I wanted to bring this up. It's a topic that we've talked about on occasion in the past, but it's been a long time, and wanted to see kind of, I don't want to really make a decision tonight, but I wanted to bring it up and get a discussion going on it, see if we can see if there's a consensus or not. And it has to do with water to the what's going to be more of a light industrial area out on US 27. Just that one piece. Right now, with that particular zoning, it's the only zoning in town that limits where the water can come from, and it limits to Sunrise. And so the question is really why that is. I know we had problems with Pines in the past. Me personally, I'm putting that behind us. I don't want that to influence our decisions going forward. It's in the past. I'm looking for a fresh start to move forward from that. And I know that there is a big decision, really. I mean, we can't ignore that the day is going to come where this whole town is going to need water. And that's down the road. It certainly is something we need to start looking at, and it's something we have started to look at. Gary, I know that you've gone on a visit to Sunrise, and you're starting to work on that, which I really appreciate. And so we are, as a town, starting to work on that, which is essential. But in this particular case, what I'm looking at is just that one set of properties there on US 27 that has that unique limitation of having to go to Sunrise for their water. And clearly Pines is much closer, much less expensive. And so for me, when I think about it, I believe that should be like the rest of the town, where they can get the water wherever they choose to get it from. As we do with any property, we have, I don't know if everybody's familiar with this, but we get on a regular basis, we get properties in town that wish to hook up to one municipality or another. It may be Cooper City. We have some that are hooked up to Pines. We have some that are hooked up to Sunrise. And they come before us and they get approved, or they don't get approved, but I think they've always gotten approved. So I'd like to put this in that same category. It seems like the right thing to do. I am concerned that that we might lose control of that property, to be honest with you, if we don't do what I think is the fair and right thing. They could de-annex without us. I know generally speaking you need approval by both municipalities, but there's a ways around that. And so I don't want to put them in that position. I think they have been good neighbors to us, and I believe that it's just the right thing to do, to not have that special restriction on that one piece of, that one section of town. So, so that's kind of my thought. Like I said, I'd like to get some feedback on it to see how others feel, see if we can move forward with that or not.
I've given it a lot of thought. I haven't had any conversations with Ronnie about this or anybody from his company.
Thank you for bringing that up. I have had a couple conversations with Ron Bergeron on this, and so I appreciate, I meant to say that, and I didn't. So I have had a couple of phone conversations with him on this.
But, when I remember when they ran the pipes down Sterling Road, when they widened and basically repaved Sterling Road, and there's T intersections all the way down the pipe for them to eventually hook up. To make him pay millions to run water down from, I guess, almost up by his place, the last closed street on 27 before you get to Bergeron's property is where the water comes out from. So millions for him to spend rather than hooking into pipes that he laid 25 years ago doesn't make any sense to me. I understand we have certain obligations to Sunrise for the big picture. And also, I know Russell contacted Charlie Dodge about information. And the way they want to carve this up seems to be like for their convenience with their response back to us. I don't have any problem with Ronnie tapping in from the pipe that runs to the foot of his property. What I don't want to see, though, is Pines then saying, okay, if we're going to do that, we need to come up 27 to Griffin Road and close in this loop that they talk about.
Absolutely.
Because that will then require our residents to tie into Pines.
Great point.
I'd really rather see Sunrise. We live by our obligations to Sunrise when they run the big pipe down Griffin Road or whatever that ends up to be. Do it that way, but make an accommodation for Ronnie at this point. Now, there's the other side of 27 to consider as well, because there's some properties over there that are also within the town. Same thing. I mean, if they want it, they can go across, whatever that takes, to go across 27 and run it up their side, but stop at Griffin Road.
Great, thank you. Other thoughts?
Yeah, just some other thoughts. If we were to do that out west with, I think we would just about pretty much kill any idea of having Sunrise water for the rest of the town. They can't, it wouldn't be economically feasible because they would really need that that industrial park. It's like a crown jewel. It would be the highest water consumption on that. And Sunrise has talked about possibly helping us out with the infrastructure costs to do that at some date. And Pines hasn't indicated anything like that. In fact, in a letter from Charlie Dodge that I read, he basically said that they stop at 184 and they can't do anything more with it. So basically where I live, my district is out of luck, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I really think we need to move in the direction of using Sunrise for the whole west side of town. Those are my thoughts.
So you spoke to Sunrise, and are they willing to put in that infrastructure up front and hook it up so that can be done?
They said basically they didn't take it off the table. We're still in talks about it, but they didn't take it off the table that they would help with the infrastructure. They didn't say yes. They also did not say no. So they said it would be a consideration.
What I am concerned about, as I said before, is I am concerned that you can go out there. That property is starting to be developed.
Sure, I've seen
so this has to be. It's either going to be something that's done relatively quickly, or we may lose control of what's built out there, which would be a major disaster for this town. And so tying it into a full town discussion, I don't think it's going to be done anytime soon. I would
Well, it's
love
not
it
a
if it
full
was.
town, it's west. It's west of I-75.
I don't, same thing. Do you think that's going to be done in the next 6 months or so?
No, obviously not.
Right. So that's my point, is I think that's a much more involved discussion, and that's why I wanted, I started off this whole conversation with saying that I'm just talking about these few properties out west. I don't know why they would be the crown jewel. I don't really think that they're going to use more water than anything else. It's not like there's any sort of a water park or anything that would use a ton of water out there. I think residents are going to use a lot more water than they're going to use in a commercial. Most of those are probably going to be warehouses that use very little water. So I don't know. I think we're walking a tightrope here, and
I agree with that.
Okay, and that's why I want the honest,
Yeah, no, I agree.
So you've got hesitations, and I recognize that. That's
I agree. We were walking on a tightrope.
yeah.
As far as that goes. But we all voted to put Sunrise as our primary supplier eventually in the comp plan. There was
I would
reason
like to
for
see
it.
Sunrise.
All of us voted for it.
I would love to. I think Sunrise has a number of advantages that no one else has.
Right.
They have the capacity that no one else in South Florida can match.
Right.
So there are no concerns with Sunrise one day knocking on our door and saying, we can't service your properties. So I recognize that, and I would love to see Sunrise say, you know what, in the next 4 months, we're going to we'll commit to doing the town. Not that they're going to start digging up our roads and things, but we will commit to doing the town, and we will put the initial infrastructure out west so that those properties on US 27 can continue to. That would be the best answer.
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening in a time frame that's anywhere near what it needs to be, and that's why I broke it out separately.
Yeah, can I just add to a comment?
Yeah.
That sounds more like a negotiating ploy. I mean, we're not going to give you all if you do this little piece. I don't think that's 80 acres out there.
Yeah.
And for Sunrise, look at some of the industrial parks they have. They're huge.
Yeah.
To me, this is, well, if you do that, we're not going to service you. The economics don't add up. I mean, it's a small piece of property, and to your point, it's not going to, based on the way we've laid out the land use out there, there won't be any high-consuming properties.
No.
So.
Yeah. Let me.
Mr. Mayor, I do concur with a lot of your positions, and I too have never spoken with Mr. Bergeron, never. I've never spoken with Mr. Bergeron nor Lonnie. I've shook hands, that's about it. And as long as we're not dealing with a special exception, and as long as we're not adversely affecting the other residents west of 75, I have no problem with Pembroke Pines providing the water to that US 27 district. And I just do not want to adversely affect the other residents west of 75 being compelled to tie into Pembroke Pines.
Right.
That's where I am on it.
Good. Thank you, David. Yeah, Jim.
Mayor, I've not spoken to any of the Bergeron family, all right? I was on the comp board when this was brought up as to what could be put out there and not. I am in agreement with you. There's not going to be a lot of water usage out there, but currently Sunrise is the only municipality that can feed the entire town. They're the only ones that has the capability of doing that. I understand they're fixing to buy Davies Water Sewer also, so they're expanding. But this one piece of property, I know that at one time in the past, it was on the verge of being de-annexed from the town.
Mm-hmm.
Would he do it again? Absolutely. All right. He needs the water.
He does.
If there would be a way to make that one special exemption, then that might save, because I don't see Sunrise doing it, like you said, within the next 6 months to a year. But Sunrise is basically the only one that will be able to feed the entire town. As long as Pines doesn't try to stick a bunch of fingers in and make people hook up,
100%.
then that would be it, right? Thank you.
100%. That would definitely be a restriction. It's just for that property. There's no further commitment. And as I said before, I think overall, when you look at it, Sunrise is a much better partner. But But with the infrastructure that's already laid out there, and the risk of what could happen if we just continue to move the way we're going, I believe really for protecting, especially protecting those residents on 210, 208, I think we need to take some action.
Yeah.
So that this doesn't get out of hand.
Just a quick comment.
Yeah.
About the change in the Pembroke Pines City Commission.
Yeah.
I think with the departure of the mayor, it's going to be a lot different. He went out of his way to take a shot at us today at his last MPO meeting. Last MPO meeting. We were talking about the urban boundaries and how somehow Southwest Ranches is within the urban boundaries, given the fact that our density is so low.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, we've been looking at that land for years. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. The world keeps turning.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing I wanted to mention is just to reiterate what Gary brought up earlier about the chess challenge on March 30th. I'm super excited about that. I'm excited about the event itself. I'm going to beat Julio there like 4 or 5 times. No, Julio is like a chess master. There's no beating Julio. But we're going to have a lot of fun, and it kicks off this whole new program that I proposed, but the entire commission council got behind, and that is developing this new position to do the programming. December is doing an awesome job. She's interviewing people right now to actually head up this program and to kind of take some of the leadership on it, as well as do some other things. And she's looking at hiring. She's talking to a number of different vendors that can help us coordinate it, that do it for other communities and other towns. And it's going to be awesome to have these programs for our youngest, their t-ball, the soccer, the whole 9 yards for our youngest ranchers, and as well as putting together some programs for our seniors. So I think it's going to be great for our community. I think it's going to be awesome. One more way, like the farmers market, that brings us together, things we can do together, get to know our neighbors, and really grow as a community. So very excited about that. And so I encourage everybody to come out on the 30th. You can say you were there for the very first event of this whole big program that's going to go on for many years to come. So, all right, with that, legal comments, Keith?
None, Mayor.
All right, thank you. And administrative comments? All right, wow, moving right along. Okay, the next item, item number 9, is discussion on right-of-way. So this came up, I brought it up the last council meeting, and so I'll just give a quick overview for maybe some of those who weren't there. There were some, actually this came up 2 or 3 meetings ago, came before us. A resident came up talking about how they had to remove some trees, and because when they planted them, it wasn't in the right-of-way. Now it's in the right-of-way, and I got very confused, like what the heck is going on here? And it turns out that we have some policies in place that on some areas like Sterling Road that are where we are still grabbing right-of-ways. Even though this is west of 166th, even though it's in an area where we not only would we not do not need those right-of-ways, I don't want the right-of-ways because I don't want anything in place that would make it any easier to put in a big wide road out there, okay? It's better the way it is without all the through traffic. And so when I realized that that's what was going on, we were grabbing right-of-ways, my initial thought was, let's give those right-of-ways back, and that's still what I believe we need to do, and I brought that up last meeting. But it also got me thinking that there's probably other roads like this that probably fall into that same category. So what I want to do tonight is, I don't want to boil the ocean on this. What I want to do is give some relief to those residents that where this is occurring, just in that one section where they have the Sterling Road right-of-ways between 166th and 172, yeah. Yeah, and I would just like for us to direct the administration to return those right-of-ways to them. We're not going to build that road. We don't want to build that road, and so we shouldn't there's no reason.
Let's vacate them.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that go back. The bigger discussion of whether this is a full policy change for the whole town, I do have some concerns with that, because if for roads that, like I know further out west, there's some roads that don't go anywhere, but there's little sections of Sterling Road and a couple other roads that are little dead ends. And if we just return those, then can we pave them during Tisdor? Maybe not, because now they're private property. And so we want to be, I want to be, there's a lot to think about there. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to boil the ocean. But for these particular residents, I believe we can, I'd like to see them get relief. Can you turn on your mic?
Excuse me. Why don't we, I hear your thoughts. And, one of the cardinal rules is that you don't give up a right-of-way unless you got a really, really good reason. I'd like to see these sent to the Drainage Committee and the Comp Board and get their opinions on it and let them hash it out before we come
Let's
to
send
any
them to the
kind
Drainage
of
Committee.
yeah, before we come to any kind of a voting or what have you, because it's pretty. I mean, I'm thinking of Sterling Road, and then I'm thinking of how it cuts through the right of way through Rolling Oaks, which will probably never be built.
Right.
And then further west,
Exactly.
then further west, and further west. So, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. However this works out, we could end up giving away 4 or 5 miles of right of way that someday we may need back. That's a big if.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But it's the possibilities out there.
Right.
But I'd rather see it go to a committee first,
So
get their opinions on it.
I don't have a problem with that. Always, the more people that look at it, the better. Do we need to do that for these two properties where we just took the right of way?
You're saying limit it to that specific
I'm
area
saying,
for now.
can we resolve those two, I believe it's two properties.
Right.
Tonight. Can we resolve that tonight and then forward the policy?
I don't have enough information on those two properties to say yes or no right now.
Okay, that's fair.
I have nothing in front of me. I don't
That's
know.
fair. No,
Mayor?
that's fair.
Mayor, if you would, all those homes along there are affected by that right-of-way. I was going to buy a piece of property there, but because Sterling Road one day could be widened and I'd have to give up that part of it, that's the reason that I went down to where I was. So it might not just be those two properties. They're the ones asking. It might be that entire section right there between 166, 172nd.
It is, Jim, you're right on target.
Right.
It is that whole section, but
Right.
what I'm saying two properties is because two properties have just had their right-of-way taken because they did some improvements on their property
Okay.
and they had to give it
Okay,
up.
right.
And so those are, I'm not saying, like I say, I'm trying to just limit our discussion tonight to those two properties because they just had their right-of-ways taken. I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I'd like to see those two properties given back their right-of-ways. But Gary makes a good point that, we should have it in front of us. So let's do this. If I can, Russell, if I can ask to have that detail on those, I believe it's two properties, sent out to the council so that we can make a decision one way or the other at our next council meeting. Great, thank you.
Yeah, I know your intent is just to limit it there, but I'm worried about us vacating roads that are there. You mentioned Tisdor. It's like, I'll just take any one of the streets in our area where there's a whole bunch of dead ends. It's unlikely we'll ever go over those canals to connect those
I agree.
roads. 54th place, my address is 5441. 54th place is one of those that start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. When I bought my land in '88, I had it vacated by the county. We had our whole plat vacated for all those cross streets that cross across town. Now, we'd have to take that back from the residents on my street if we decided to put roads through. The likelihood of that, it's probably pretty close to zero.
Correct.
There's no good business reason to do that. I mean,
Correct.
why do we need more cut-through streets, right?
Correct.
So, I would keep it away from existing roads that are, like we were saying, with Tisdor, we have a lot of those little dead ends. Leave that out of the discussion completely.
Right.
We're never going to give that back, and nobody's going to go in and tear those roads up.
Right.
But now, I think we really should take a look at the properties that, like from 54th Place over where you live, it doesn't go all the way through. There isn't a dead end on each one of them. I know through Roca, there's a street. I know when you get into Green Meadows, I believe it stops again. So, why would we ever do anything with that? I'd rather give those back to the residents if we don't think now, we may have horse trails there, through Sunshine Ranches. I know there's a number of trails through various parts of town. Those we need to protect.
Right.
But just to have a right-of-way through somebody's property for the sake of, because somebody had a great idea in the 70s or 80s, doesn't make any sense anymore.
Right. I agree 100% on all those points. Just as a follow-up to that, on these one that we're talking about, there actually is a horse trail on that road, but it's to the south, and it is not what we would be giving back.
Right.
Right. Where this is at is actually on the north side. So we do need to protect the horse trails for sure, and if there's already pavement down, we don't want to complicate that. But if there's no pavement, if there's grass down there, but I do think that's a bigger conversation. That definitely needs to go to the Drainage Committee so that they can take a look at it, and I'd love to hear their feedback on that. But so we'll bring the actual detail on these two properties next council meeting, and I would really hope that we can make a decision at that time.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I just want to say two things from just as pure legal that Russell just wanted me to make sure you all know. Anytime you want to vacate a property, it's a decision of the council. If you determine that there's no potential public use of that area, you are legally allowed to vacate it. It is an ordinance. It is quasi-judicial. It has to come back before you on 2 readings for any vacation.
Thank you.
Just something to note that also Russell and I just spoke about, not affecting these 2 that were just recently acquired. But on other ones, if you vacate property, it's then becomes new property to that property owner. Their property is reassessed on the tax rolls, and therefore they may have significant impacts if they've been here since the 1980s, that they may not realize when it's being done. So we just wanted to mention.
Significant impact?
You're adding, I don't know how much property you potentially.
Yeah, I mean, generally, it's a pretty small sliver of property, but it could be
The
more.
way I understand it is they may reassess the property based on new property being added.
Okay, it's good to know.
So it's something we need to look into.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith.
Take into consideration.
Absolutely. Yep.
Russell's got his hand up.
Regarding the 2 particular properties that are in question, we have one of the homeowners here tonight. In her particular case, the reason why she has not been able to get a CO, there's some issues with documentation that she's working on, which we believe, we actually talked earlier today, and we believe that she's pretty much where she needs to be. However, what we were contemplating doing was issuing a temporary CO because we were waiting for this issue to be resolved. In order so that we don't, I guess, seeking council direction or council approval if you had no issues with us issuing a permanent CO just pending this one particular issue. I'm sorry?
How would this issue impact the CO?
Because the zoning review was being held up because we had directed that, because they had trees planted in the right-of-way, that was a violation or an issue with the zoning final, and you can't issue a CO if there's any outstanding inspection.
Keith, in this case, what happened was they put in the trees as they were directed by the town. All was good. Then we took the right-of-way, and now there's trees in the right-of-way, and so now the trees have to be removed.
So So you could resolve this tonight if.
I would love to resolve it
But
tonight.
resolving it in a different way.
Okay.
Have the council vote to approve the trees in the right-of-way at this location, and then she can get her CO.
I still want to pursue the other, but to resolve it tonight, that would be awesome.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
If we get a motion in a second.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
So what we're talking about is just allowing the trees to be in that right-of-way.
Yeah, sort of like all
For
else
this
down
one
in
case.
Mather, 178th, there's on both sides.
Yeah,
of
it
the
wouldn't be the
right-of-way.
first, would it?
There's thousands, hundreds of trees.
Would not be the first. All right. All right, so
Would we still address the other homes that are?
absolutely.
Okay, we're not going to
Absolutely.
forget about those?
No,
Okay, so it's just for this one particular property?
yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, one of my concerns, and I was guessing, is there an urgency issue with this?
There is an
Obviously, it came up. Obviously, it came up. That was going to be one of my issues to discuss. The other issue is, you had mentioned sending it to comp plan and/or drainage. If it impacts trails, it's going to have to go to the parks too. because that
Okay.
involves recreation, it involves horse trails.
Well, we want to avoid.
We really don't want it to affect, I want to let me be perfectly clear. I do not want to take back the right-of-ways for horse trails.
Right.
100%. So, okay. Any other council comment on this? Seeing none. Any public comment on this item?
I might suggest an easy way for you to fix it next time.
Okay.
In order, I don't know what the town ordinance requires, but the county requires that the town send a resolution to the Traffic Ways Committee of the Planning Council. And it never goes before the Planning Council. And the Traffic Ways Committee removes the road from the traffic plan. At that point, then the town contacts the property appraiser's office with a list of properties. You have to get the property owners to take them back. That happened in Cooper City when Pine Island Road went through and they put that wall up. One resident didn't want it. So when you see the gap, that's it. But then later on, who bought it 10 years later, they wanted a wall and they had to build one. But what you do is you do it that way. But when you take them off the traffic ways, I don't think you can take two. I agree with Commissioner Hartman, Councilman Hartman. You need to take the whole thing off. And it just comes off and then you split it. And it would, as Keith says, property appraiser's office will reassess it. But is it 50 feet?
At most.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? And the assessment would be land at today's value. But our land is only at $4 a foot, and I don't know why. So I don't know how much it is, but that's what it would go back on their records, but they would own it. But if you put a resolution on, then you wouldn't, that would get the process started with the Planning Council to take the road off, and you could do the ordinance, whatever, 2 or 3 times, or you had to do it to advertise it.
Great. Thank you, Lori.
I'm sure you remember way back when on that Sterling Road issue. I'm sure that December, or I know Michelle Milgram's office had it, all the trails and how we had it, it had already been laid out on that Sterling Road corridor. Part of it was drainage because it was going to help both sides, and the other was going to be the trail. And it was just going to connect through from 166 to 172nd. If the people on the north side can get some of their property back, hey, I'm the biggest campaigner for getting your property back. But by the same token, I don't want them to lose the drainage, that the flow, and that came from South Broward Drainage. They had that whole thing approved so that they would have water flowage and they could build on both sides of it, instead of having to have water standing. If you remember, one of the original ones had a great big kind of moat dug around it. Well, they did away with all that. So I think you really need to take a hard look at that first and make sure that it's okay with South Broward Drainage to accommodate the drainage on both sides and allow because that area floods, guys, in there. So just be aware of that. And Bob is right about out west. We have a lot of easements that are connector trails that run through properties right now. They're using the property, but they are easements. Don't give them up, because if you do, you're not going to be able to travel. And I don't mean just by horseback. It allows people to walk through and
Mayor?
connect into those
Yeah.
trails.
Great. Thank you, Gay.
You run smack dab into the lack of the tertiary drainage plan that I've spoke to you several times about. You have the stormwater drainage plan, but you don't have the tertiary drainage plan. Where's that water going to flow? How's it going to flow? You have not the damnedest idea, and neither do any of the residents. Neither does anybody. And most of all, neither does the water. So you've got a bigger picture to look at because you don't have the tertiary drainage plan in place. They took the money from the grant and just did stormwater instead of, as it's supposed to be, the tertiary and stormwater plan. No tertiary drainage plan whatsoever is in effect. So you've got more ducks to run down the road instead of just the one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Any other public comment?
I'm going to try, Gary. Gary, I'm not going to touch the mic. Good afternoon, good evening, I'm sorry. John Garati, 162nd Avenue. The only thing I'm hearing, and there's a lot of specifics, there's a lot of folks that have lived here longer than me. See, I'm trying. All I hear is, let's cut the red, let's try and cut the red tape for the resident. Whatever plan you take, the homeowner, all he sees or she sees is dollars and cents. Can I go forward with my project? No resident wants to hurt the town intentionally by doing anything with a right-of-way, but let's cut the red tape as much as we can, because that's all a resident sees. Everything is money these days, and I forgot one very important thing. Hi, Laurie. I didn't say hi to my wife. I got to do that. That's something I do now. So I think that's the most important thing with any right-of-way. Right-of-ways are important for future things, but let's look at the residents, and I'm glad to see you stepping up for at least those two, because there could be more, but let's look out for the resident, cut the red tape as much as possible. I know public comment is restricted. I left 45 seconds on the table before. I didn't know, so you guys, thank you for answering my question. So it's 3 minutes for something initial and 2 for an item. Got it. And, that's pretty much what I had on that. I did want to say one thing I forgot. It's brief. It's nothing negative. From the Green Meadows Civic Association, Midtown Ranches, for Mr. Rem Cheritar, we wanted to donate his airfare. It's a small token of appreciation for his next conference, and anything I can do as a fundraiser as a town resident, and his genuine message at the Sunshine Ranches HOA was very appreciated and very honest. So
Great, thank you.
that's just a token from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, you got your $5,000.
All right, public comment is closed. Any other further council comment?
Yeah, just a thought. Just a thought. Why don't we allow trees to go in that right of way all the way down? And then we avoid the whole right of way.
Like you said, I haven't looked at the whole thing.
Right.
I don't want to overstep here.
Yeah, no, but I'm
tonight?
just saying, I'm putting a thought out there,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm-
So if it works there, this way we don't have to deal with the right of way issue.
I don't want the right-of-way, Gary. I don't want a big fat road in there, to be honest with you. I do not want that right-of-way. I want the residents to have that. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't want that right-of-way.
It was a suggestion.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I went a little over.
It's all right, I wear a
Yeah.
helmet,
Yeah.
no big deal.
I didn't mean to do that.
Just while we're thinking out of the box,
Yeah.
concern about allowing this group to put trees in the right of way, what precedent does that set for the rest of town?
Well, I think
Discourage
that
it.
precedent was set a long time
Yeah, but
ago.
it's
But-
still a law in the books.
We're limiting it to these two.
Oh, yeah.
We're not setting
No, no.
policy, let me be clear, we're not setting
get it.
policy for the rest of the town.
No,
Steve, a
I'm
correction?
clear on that, but it then just turned into those two properties, why don't we just let them all? So
And that's
I'm
what-
trying to limit that.
Steve, a
Good point.
correction. This
Hold on
Sterling
just a second,
Road
hold on
right
just a
of-
second, Noel. It's not public comment.
No, it's the correction of what you were saying.
Quickly.
The Sterling Road right-of-way has always been there. What this was an additional 50-foot for drainage. That's what was taken.
We need to look at the big picture.
Yeah, that's why we need the
We're okay on the trees on the one.
All right, we'll double check that. That's not my understanding. I don't think that's correct, Noel. I don't think that's correct.
Mayor, can I do something to try to get you where you want to be and make everyone happy? We can do the
I don't know. It's maybe beyond that, but now go ahead.
I'll try. I always try. You allow the trees subject to a standard maintenance indemnification agreement that we do, which means that if for any reason at any time in history the town needs those trees removed, if you don't vacate it, that you have the ability to do so. So That way, you help the homeowner immediately now, but you're still protected if, you know,
we take no
others
further
want that
action.
as well.
Looking at a cost to take them out.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You know, I'd like to see in the next couple of meetings to have that right away given back, but,
Vacated, yeah.
yeah, and that'll resolve it permanently.
The only issue, the only reason that I really support what's going on is because the town had previously authorized those trees to be put there.
Yeah.
I think
mean,
that's the exception.
It's a great point. It's a great point, David, that we, on the plans that they put in, the trees were on there and we approved that plan. And it was only after they were actually planted that we went back and said, oh, by the way, we need this right of way, give us this right of way. And all of a sudden, what was allowed is now those plants need to be taken out. And by the way, there's, I spoke to December about this, there's very little chance that those trees will be able to be moved a second time. You know, they'll be killed,
But
in
Mayor,
all likelihood.
if
Yes.
we did something that, that council said to let them grow, then 10 years down the road to remove them, the cost for that would be just,
Oh, you gotta cut them down.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't
it'd
remove
be
them at
just,
that point. Yeah.
You know, cut them down, dig them all up. I mean, you know,
Look,
it'd be horrible for the
If we need to
residents.
add, I'm fine with the original, the proposal as it's on the table, the motion and the second as it is right now. If somebody's uncomfortable with it and they want to add that second piece onto it, then, you know, we can entertain that. I'm looking for, in the next 2 or 3 meetings, to be able to give these right away back to these two owners. And so this whole additional wording becomes moot at that point.
So the motion is what?
Is to, on those two properties, to allow the trees to remain.
Did the trees affect 2 properties or 1 property? I thought it was only 1.
Is it it's the two properties.
2 properties. Oh.
That's all, just allowing the trees. That's all that's being decided.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
No.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you.
Can I
All right.
explain that?
Sure.
All right. The idea of not allowing the other residents on that street or those that we've taken before, you know, I don't like doing it just for 1 or 2 people. I'd like to do it for everyone. Mine would be for everybody, not just for 1 or 2.
Jim, we said we're going to bring this back and look at all the
Yeah.
rest.
All right.
Well, we've got a pending CO here that
Okay.
the people are trying to get into their
Okay.
house. So,
All right. As long as we can address that.
absolutely.
This is temporary.
All right. Believe it or not, I think, okay. Item number 9. So number 10, we have approval of minutes for February 8th and February 22nd. Is there a motion on those? We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
No.
Seeing none, any public additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton? Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
Minutes passed.
thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
No, 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 no.
No?
Not
Oh my
yet.
gosh.
Item number 11,
We have an 11.
Appointments.
Oh, appointments.
appointments.
I make a motion that we keep the same appointments that we've had.
I hear a motion. Jim, you have a motion or a comment?
I do. We have a newly retired council person, and, you know, he is really chomping at the bit to see what's going on. So, you know.
I'm already on it as an alternate. And I'm not new. It's 3 years old.
No, I got no comment.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Newly retired. It's 2 years already.
That's what he said, 3 years. 3
Okay.
years. All right, so we need a motion on this?
I just gave one.
Do we need a
I did
second on
second.
this?
Second.
Second. You saying we don't need it?
Second,
We made a
go ahead and
motion
call
and a
the roll,
second.
I guess.
All right. Any further comment on it from anybody but Jim? Any public comment on it?
No.
This is for the Broward League of Cities appointment, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at our Zero Waste Broward Task Force meeting last night, it was brought up that it would be very helpful for this Broward League of Cities to also take the initiative in the fighting against incineration and moving more towards, diverting from landfills and incineration. So it was brought up that I said I would share it with Jim, as he sits on he's our representative from the Broward League of Cities, is to maybe try and bring that whole organization. I don't know how they do it, but how you said right now the big focus is on school closings. But this should also be one of those big issues that the Broward League of Cities can come together on. And I happened to notice on the left-hand side of something I was reading, I think there's 5 or 6 directors on that Broward League of Cities that actually sit on this executive
Right.
committee. So I would just ask you to maybe see what we can do there.
Great. Thank you,
Jim,
Debbie.
if you need help arm twisting, we'll all be happy to help you.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. It's regarding the Broward League of Cities, right? If anybody on this council is representing from the Broward League of Cities, which is Mr. Albrighton, absolutely, I totally agree with Debbie Green. You got a League of Cities that we can address our zero waste message to, and it's a fantastic audience, so absolutely. That should be on the agenda with them, so that's what I got for that.
Thank you. All right, Gary, it's all yours.
No, I got one more.
Oh, we got one more. Sorry, Richard. I didn't see you coming up.
Hi, good evening. Yes, so I just want to thank everyone here in the town council administration for giving me a vote of confidence in the work that I'm trying to do to help the town move towards zero waste and composting. Last night when we were here at the task force meeting, State Representative Robin Bottleman was here, and we addressed the issue of possibly putting the composting on the line item budget. I just want to know if you have any feedback on that, what you guys think.
Thank you, Richard. And truly the thanks goes to you for all the work that you've done. It's amazing, and we are a much stronger community with the work you've done. Thank you. So what Richard is referring to is that we would like to see, for some of the things that we're doing to trying to put more recycle bins and things around town at our parks and things like that. I think it is going to take some budget dollars, and so now we're in budget season. Not that you ever really get out of budget season, but we're in budget season, and I do think that this needs to be something that's included in our budget for next year. So
Emil is writing vigorously.
yeah, thank you, Emil.
Call the question.
All right, I think we're really done this time. Gary, it's up to you, man.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Got a vote?
We didn't call the
Oh,
vote.
wait. See, I knew.
Yes.
What
What is-
do we got?
Haven't voted.
Yes.
So we have
On
a
Jim's
motion and a second
Yes.
to
Oh.
keep the director, the alternate, and the second
Yeah.
alternate
Yeah.
the same as last year.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping us in line. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Are we good?
Third time?
We're good. Do it.
Motion to adjourn.
Third time's the charm. Thank you, Gary. Thank you all for coming out.